All right, guys, it's Wednesday, and we had some technical difficulties right there. with this heater, you guys having problems with your phones or anything?
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah.
having
Wasn't Verizon down like 2 days ago and
It
stuff?
was down. I'm still having issues with my phone and all that stuff, and the computer's slow, but it's crazy. But welcome, guys, with the Movie Bros. We're back another week. We're going to be talking a little bit about some Marvel news, a little James Gunn news, and Pirates of the Caribbean news. I'm Joe Zapata, and I got my man, Rob Alvarenga. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing good, man. Yeah, I made it. I'm not late this time. You know,
you're back. We had you on the road traveling last week. And of course, we got Dave, DC Callari. What's up, Dave?
What up, fellas? Happy Wednesday.
What is going on? What's going on, guys? Another great week going on. Really hot, though, up here. Hot as hell.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is. It's hot, man. A lot of issues going on. All right, guys. So the first thing we're going to talk about is a little bit of Marvel news going on. So Marvel actually recently said that they want to go a little bit more grounded, and they are focusing on shows that are going to be grounded. Now, first of all, I don't know if you guys got to see Ironheart. Did you guys get to see Ironheart?
I started watching it today, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to it yet.
I watched it. I thought it was okay. It wasn't, I'm not, I don't hate it. I don't love it, but whatever. But Marvel is said that they're going to go more grounded shows, and they want things like Daredevil, and they're going to bring in Jessica Jones, apparently having her own show like Daredevil. So, Rob, I'll start with you. What do you think about the whole going grounded Jessica Jones angle? You like that?
First of all, I do, because I enjoyed Jessica Jones. I enjoyed Kristen Ritter's interpretation of that character. I actually enjoyed the show when it was on Netflix, which is kind of like now full circle. What it sounds like to me is Marvel wants what Netflix had. I mean, so okay, great. Welcome aboard, because I guess they're finally realizing, what made those shows, at least to us, what we felt like these were successful shows because they were in the pocket, so to speak. That you had the character developments. Depending on the shows, because not all of them were winners. Iron Fist, but they were. You kind of really got to dive deep into the lore of the character without going super special effects heavy. And now they're kind of realizing that, listen, to win the day, win us over the fans, just stick to the source material. Give us, stories that are based on what we already know, and then throw your spin on it. Don't Disney-fy it, don't formulaic or any of that stuff there. Netflix had something really good going until it was gone. And I think Disney finally realizes, hey, they had something going there. We should go back to that. And, better late than never. I'm all for it.
Okay. Dave, what about you? Do you like this whole going grounded, Marvel deciding to go grounded?
So I feel like it's definitely course correction. I think it's a little late in the game. Doesn't make it bad. But I feel they were trying to still hit home runs after Endgame. So we got some okay TV shows and some mediocre TV shows. I think it's also budgetary, because if you can do a TV show that's going to be anywhere between 8 to 9 episodes, maybe more, it's cheaper to do the street level grounded stuff. So it's not a whole bunch of, effects and everything else. So I think it makes sense from a business standpoint. It makes sense from a storytelling standpoint. And I think hopefully it'll tighten up what they are doing narrative, for the narrative. Like, let's just do the small stories that can show up in the big stories, but you don't necessarily have to have seen any of the shows to catch up on the movies. Like, I feel they were starting to go that direction. Like when Vision Quest comes out, there's a good chance if you haven't seen WandaVision, you're not like, what's happening? So I think it's a good move. Like I said, I think it's a little late in the game. Doesn't mean it's not going to work. I just wish they had more of an idea of what they wanted to do a few years ago. But I'm still excited to see what happens.
Yeah, me too. I think if grounded is the way to go. It makes sense financially for the company to do that. Did you guys happen to see the last, by the way, and I know we didn't mention in the highlights, but the Fantastic Four final trailer by chance? That dropped today, the final trailer.
I saw bits and pieces, man. They're showing a lot.
They did show a lot. And I actually got a really good concept of what the story is. And I didn't realize that there's a time gap between her announcing when Galactus is coming to when he actually shows up. So that's kind of interesting. So there's a gap where they try to figure out and they have time before it gets there. So with the story starting to develop and I have an idea, and it looks now I'm more interested to see it after that final trailer. I think that was their best trailer, to be honest. But check it out when you guys get a chance. The next thing I want to talk about is while we were on Marvel, now let's go to DC. So James Gunn has been asked many times about Batman. He's been asked about Batman, and he said Batman will not be a cameo in the Superman movie or obviously Supergirl movie. And it makes sense. He should have his own standalone movie when he pops up. However, he did also say that he is interested and he's open to Robert Pattinson joining the DCU. Now, he didn't say if he wanted Robert Pattinson or not, but he said he is open to the idea. Didn't say yes, no. But I have a feeling they already have their Batman, I think, because you can't be this far in the game and not have a plan. I think James Gunn plans these things out. Dave, what do you think about this situation with, Batman and stuff?
Well, I like the idea of I don't know where we became so cameo obsessed that no one can have their own solo movie anymore without some other character showing up.
Yeah.
So I'd rather Superman just be Superman. We've seen small trailers too. Like there's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of characters. I've seen in interviews we're kind of catching the train mid-ride. So like he's been Superman for a little while, and we'll probably be playing a little bit of catch up in the beginning. But there's no need. There's no need for Batman to be here. It's not going to make the movie any more successful because this looks like it'll be fine on its own, and certainly any Batman movie that comes out will also be fine on its own. So we don't need that. I liked the Batman. I don't necessarily see Pattinson's version of Batman fitting in the DCU as it currently stands. Doesn't mean he can't.
I agree.
Like everyone's talking about, we've got big as a bus Alan Ritchson possibly playing Batman. Like there's all these, fan ideas about who the next guy could be or whatever. So I'm not opposed to seeing something new. Like let Gunn just start over from the beginning. Not to mention that the Batman 2 still isn't a real movie. So what are we doing?
Rob, what do you think about the Batman, all the talk?
Well, first of all, I think it's a good decision. Okay, I don't know if this have anything to play into the decision for James Gunn to make sure that Batman, when he appears in the new DCU, that he has his own movie. But I just remember back to the DCEU, where we jumped from like Superman to Batman versus Superman. And I just remember thinking back, like, why are we already here? What happened if you knew that? And we knew it was announced that Ben Affleck was going to be the new Batman. Why not give him his movie and then bring the whole Batman v Superman? I just remember it was such a missed opportunity. There was a lot of missed opportunities with DCEU. Let's be real. But that was the first thing I thought of when I saw this news. So I don't know if it played into James Gunn's decision to do this, but it just logically speaking, and basically again, take your time. I know everybody's in a rush to see Batman because it's Batman. But Superman hasn't even come out yet. Let's take our time, take a breather, enjoy the ride. Guys, this, if this works, James Gunn's gonna give DC fans what they rightfully deserve for a long time. And that is a full universe, where you got fleshed out characters, you already know the characters, but you're going to know them through the actors that are now playing them. And you're going to follow them along and have a true legacy saga a la Marvel, which is, that's the standard where they hit. I'm not saying you have to be that, but if you have dreams of seeing the DCU get to those heights, you got to take your time. So this is the right thing to do.
Yep. And that's, I think, the mistake they made. They rushed it in. They went from, Man of Steel to Batman vs. Superman and didn't give it time to, everything was rushed.
Gotta let it marinate, man.
Well, Gunn said something this week or last week. He said, I want the Batman movie to, Batman needs a reason to exist in his universe, which just means it has to make sense, not just show for the sake of showing up, which was essentially what Batman v Superman was. We had a pretty decent Man of Steel, and then Batman v Superman, we see that Gotham and Metropolis are just separated by the harbor, which is fine, but the tones of the way the cities were both so drastically different. It just didn't.
It was a big, missed opportunity.
Zack Snyder, Michael Bayed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but the reviews I hear coming out slowly from Superman have been excellent. Now, I think they opens up, you know, like you said, July 11th, but there some early screenings have happened, or I think already, and there's some reviews saying that they're really, really good. It's supposed to be really good. So, you know, as we get closer, we'll see, and we'll be there opening night. The next subject I want to talk about is actually Ben Stiller, and I love Ben Stiller. I think he's really funny. I loved a lot of his movies, and one of his famous movies, obviously, is Meet the Parents. Now, Meet the Parents, always I thought it was funny, really funny movie. Robert De Niro and everything. The third one it was kind of like okay, you know, I could see the second one was all right. Now, apparently, they are going to do a fourth one. Owen Wilson is returning in one of his roles. And actually, they're saying they're having issues signing Barbara Streisand recently. But again, Meet the Parents 4 is on board, and everyone's returning, I think, except Barbara Streisand. Dave, did you like those movies? I mean, I loved them. Did you like them?
Meet the Parents was good. Meet the Fockers was okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't see, what was it, Meet the Little Fockers? Was that
Yeah,
the one?
Little Fockers, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't watched either of those in a while.
Mm-hmm.
But my gut tells me that they don't age very well.
No.
So I'm curious where this can go. Like, is this even interesting?
I have no idea what the story is.
So I'm not like, can we get a Tropic Thunder sequel from Ben Stiller instead? Like, I'd rather
legit, like
that one out.
Totally legit. Come on, I mean,
that would be great. That would be great.
Got me dreaming again.
Yeah, Rob, what do you think about Meet the Parents Part 4 now?
Lukewarm at best. I mean, and that's actually probably being generous when I really, think about it. So the beginning, the first movie, I remember watching it, and it was funny, but it had that kind of like cringe funny, where it's like some people are just gonna eat that up, and for someone like me, I'm just like, should I be laughing? Because this feels really messed up.
Yeah.
And so for me, I mean, I didn't enjoy it as much because it was like kind of uncomfortable. It was just a different type of humor that I'm not used to. You mentioned Tropic Thunder, and that humor, I'll eat that up all day. That kind of humor was like, for me, an acquired taste. I saw the second movie. I saw a lot of like repetition, and they're going to the families, whatever. And now I'm hearing that with Part 4, we're talking about Ben Stiller's son, engaged to I guess Ariana Grande, and she's supposed to be this like ball busting bitch that that now the whole family's gonna have to deal with.
Yeah.
So more cringe fun. I guess for those that like that stuff. I can't say that I'm gonna spend money going to the theaters for this thing. This sounds to me like I'm gonna be streaming it, check it out, see if they came up with something new, because I know everything now has to be more or less a sequel, or something of an IP, because that's everybody seems to make money now. So I hope it does well for those that really follow the franchise. But honestly, man, I don't see much. I don't have much interest in this thing.
Yeah, they're making it more like, if you remember from the first one, the father was very like always spying. So now Ben Stiller, he's going to fall into that role and taking over for Robert De Niro's role, helping him get spying and looking on the same way he was originally. So it all goes full circle, I guess. That's what they're
a great formula.
Yeah. Well, we'll see when that comes out, what happens more with that. Well, the next topic is actually Disney. One of their big blockbusters that they always have, and they film a lot of them, is obviously Pirates of the Caribbean. Now, if you would have asked me if they're going to do another one with Johnny Depp returning, I would have said you're nuts, especially after that Heard and Johnny Depp stuff going on. Never doing it. But apparently we're wrong, because apparently they said Pirates Caribbean 6 is in the works, and Johnny Depp is scheduled to come back, and so is the rest of the other cast members. So I don't know. I was hoping they went in a different direction, maybe reboot the whole franchise. I don't know. Dave, what do you think about Pirates Caribbean? I mean, it's good.
First one is classic. It's still good.
Yep.
It still holds up. Everything after that, even though the second one was still pretty good, I feel like they all kind of blend together. I couldn't really. It's just like the Transformers. Like, they're all fine, but I couldn't tell you the third one from the fifth one, and I don't even think I saw the last I may not even seen the last 2 Pirates movies. Could it be good? Yeah, anything could be good.
Yeah.
You know, I think I followed the trial a little bit. Equal crap slinging on both sides. So it really
Yeah.
depends. Like, if you don't want to see the movie because you don't like Johnny Depp, then you don't go. And the people that like Johnny Depp will go. So I don't really think it'll suffer from that. It's just, is it going to be any good or not? Is there still a story there worth telling that's interesting?
Yeah, I don't know. Rob, what do you think about the whole Pirates of the Caribbean Part 6 now?
I'm at a loss for words because honestly, I didn't even think that they had a shot with Johnny Depp coming back. Honestly, well, just recap with this franchise. I loved the first 2. The first one, total classic, just like Dave said. I enjoyed Part 2 probably more than maybe some. Part 3 was, the tie-in, whatever. It was just all kinds of stuff happening in that movie. But then once you got beyond that, if it wasn't for Johnny Depp, those movies, I mean, they just didn't have a lot going for it. Story wise, they try to just ride the Depp magic, and I don't think this franchise works without him. To be quite honest, I'm all for reimagining, rebooting, and stuff. But Pirates of the Caribbean, when I think back of what made it work, there's only one thing really that made it work. That's Johnny Depp. Captain Jack Sparrow. That character did so much heavy lifting for everybody else. I just don't know how you reimagine, reboot that thing with someone else that has that kind of personality, that kind of character to it. I mean, I heard rumors about Margot Robbie, taking on like a female version of Captain Jack, but nothing is Margot. I love her; she's amazing and stuff. But again, it's just like you can't top the original. Once you see it done right the first time, you don't want to see it done any other way. So with Part 6, honestly, I don't know. People are gonna be like, "Oh yeah, Pirates of the Caribbean. I remember that franchise. Remember maybe some good times. Maybe they'll draw in the crowds and stuff, but they gotta come with something pretty creative. It's all about don't redo the formula. Try put some work into it. Get creative. Give us something new. And I'm a fan. I consider myself a fan of that franchise, and I'll go watch it. But if I start seeing a trailer and I start seeing just like these usual, like, okay, we've done this before, I'm just gonna wait.
Yeah.
Give us 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea Pirates mashup. At least make it interesting.
Something,
something, But I mean, it's getting to the point like almost like Fast and the Furious. They got up to like 10 now or whatever, and I'm kind of.
I hate them all.
I don't think first
like you don't like family.
Yeah. I hate them all.
Do you?
I haven't seen a single one. I cannot stand it.
Yeah. Well, I think they made it to the moon on the last one. I'm not sure.
Pretty close.
It's from cars to flying to the moon. I mean,
oh my God,
that stuff was pretty crazy. I don't know. Well, we'll see. Pirates of the Caribbean. It's probably going to make money like normal. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, Caribbean Drift.
With the boats.
All right, guys, we got some mailbag questions coming in. We got a bunch of stuff coming in. A lot of questions that came in. Actually, I try to get a bunch out I can. This one came from someone who actually commented on our video, and I said I would mention it. It was Donkey Kong 4242. He said, "What are your thoughts on bringing back the Three Amigos? I love your thoughts on the topic and love that shell. El Guapo." Three Amigos with Martin Short, who else? Steve Martin,
and Chevy Chase.
Yes,
great.
sir.
That was very funny characters, everything, and the whole Three Amigos, whatever they do, loved it. What are your thoughts, Dave? What do you think?
So I haven't seen the show that was it Murders in the Building on Hulu?
Murders in the Building, yeah.
Murders in the Building, yeah.
I've seen clips of it, and I've seen Martin Short and Steve Martin on most of the talk shows talking. They look like they get along fantastically, and there's really great chemistry between them.
Yes.
Even like now, way far into their careers. I don't know if Chevy Chase would even be interested in this. I mean, I hear all kinds of weird things about how much of a curmudgeon he's turned into. So I don't even know on that alone. I don't know if it could fly. I feel if you either get them all back or you don't.
Yeah.
I don't think it makes sense otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. Rob,
But
what do you think?
Again, if they get them all back, I don't even know if it works.
Yeah, I don't think Chevy can do it because recently I know his health has not been the best.
Right.
He fell off the stage recently, so
Yeah.
I don't think he can do it. You know, Rob, what do you think about this? Three Amigos.
Three Amigos. So this is what I remember of that movie. First of all, I kind of now interested. I want to go back and actually watch this movie again and just see if it holds up, because I remember when I watched that movie, and I think I've seen the movie at least 5 times. That movie's funny, and that movie for me was like lightning in a bottle. It was like one of those rare movies where just like the concept, everything was just, it's plausible at the same time. It shouldn't work, but it did, and it was because of those 3 guys. It's just that their storyline in that movie and the way these characters, each amigo, kind of like played off each other was perfect. It was perfect, and the storyline was like really cool. These guys like pretending to be like the super movie. They are quote unquote. They think they're movie stars, and they go into think they're doing a show, and then like right in the middle of like a civil war, and I just remember having such a good time with that, and now trying to see how that would work now. I just don't see it. I agree. Steve Martin and Martin Short, they still have it together. They could make a movie together right now, and it's gonna work. Chevy Chase has been kind of like on a downhill straight for a while, and even then, I'm thinking back like to that movie. I don't know that Chevy Chase now can do Chevy Chase back then. It's just totally different guy, and it's one of those movies that if you haven't seen it, I do recommend you watch it. I think it still holds up. I'm going to watch it again myself. But it's just one of those like rare gems. Like everything just came together perfectly. The movie is funny. It's enjoyable, rewatchable, I think. And just leave it at that. It's unfortunately one of those movies that I don't think could be touched.
Yeah. If anyone, I think Seth MacFarlane would do a reboot of that because he likes doing kind of.
He likes the nostalgia.
Yeah, like he likes that stuff. All right. Next question here we got from Tim W. Bergen County, New Jersey. He goes, "Hello, movie pundits. If you could have dinner with any actor, actress, dead or alive, who would it be?" Okay, so I actually think I would be George Lucas. If I can have dinner with someone, I'd want to sit down with George Lucas and break down Star Wars all day with him. Or, that's who I would choose. I don't know. Let's see. Who do you want to go? Let's go, Rob. What do you think?
Well, I mean, since we brought in, directors and other stuff there, so I'm going to lump this into this category too. I'll give you 2, to be quite honest, and they're both connected.
Okay.
Steven Spielberg, if I actually was in the second row of San Diego Comic-Con maybe 4 years ago, and actually got to see him, like several feet away, and it just hit me how much this guy has influenced me with the movies I grew up with. I mean, most of the movies that I could think of right off the bat, he had a tie, either directed it or produced it. He had some hand in it. And, just, I would love to speak to him about just the process, just how do you do that? How do you, his movies are always, they have the character, driving force behind it. You got to have the right actors, all this mix and match to make movie magic. I just want to talk about movie magic with him because, he's the chosen one. He's, there's every single movie he's ever come out with is memorable. That's a style of Steven Spielberg. That's number one above all else. And the other actor that I would like to sit down with, I don't know how much he would talk, but Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
So, I get a sense that being kind of like the for me, he comes across like an introvert, but when you actually really get to know him, he just seems like a hell of a guy, and I would just love to just talk with him, just chill, and just see what's behind that whole persona that he gives out. I think he'd be a real cool hang.
Okay, Dave, who do you got?
I'm gonna give you 3 because I don't really find any actors outside of like the roles they play to be uber interesting.
Okay.
Schwarzenegger.
Okay.
Jim Cameron.
Okay.
John Williams.
Oh,
that's interesting.
Okay.
John Williams is very interesting. Why John Williams? That's interesting.
Because being a musician myself, and think about like you can even when you hear the Superman theme and electric guitar or whatever in other iterations in the new trailer, you still get the goosebumps.
Yep.
Like it just happens. Same thing with Star Wars and Indiana Jones and Jaws, Jurassic Park. Like the list goes on, right? Like I would love to know, like when he's thinking of themes, what's going through his mind, and also just I'm interested. Does he get to screen the films before he puts the score together, or is he just told what to do? And how do you come up with melodies that everybody on the planet knows? You know, that these songs that will be forever remembered, and even movies that don't use that same music, they'll still say original compositions from John Williams, and some other Joe Schmo's got to like kind of come up with his own thing on it. Like it's just very interesting. I would love to just talk with him about how just writing music and composing.
It was a genius.
Some of the most memorable music we've ever had.
Yeah.
Not even in like pop culture, just like in general.
Yep. And he's like 91, still doing it, or 92.
Yeah, so we'd have to be quick. We'd have to do like
yeah. Wow. That's a good one. John Williams. That's a good one. I didn't think about that. All right. Our next question here is from Rich R, South Orange, New Jersey. Screenwriter Rob, I'm a big horror fan. Who is your favorite killer? I love Art the Clown.
Man, Art the Clown. You know, he's on the block too.
Yeah.
He's the new hotness, man. And you know, I don't blame you. I get it. You know, he is like he's the throwback in a lot of ways. So I get Rich. I get why you like him. He's a good one. I'm of a certain age, so you know, I'm going back to like the 80s slashers movies and stuff like that. And you know, as I don't feel like it's like a generalized answer, because the thing is, I grew up during that time. Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger, the whole concept, totally mind-blowing. You telling me that I can't sleep? I can't dream? You know, I mean, I'm a writer. Everything's about dreams, right? For me, it's getting that stuff out of my head. So that means you're making that into a place of terror, and just the whole lore behind this character. I mean, you know, it just, the way the series unfolded, you learn a little bit more about this guy, and just how crazy and how just like disturbed this person was in real life before he became a dream demon. And the whole concept of dream demon, I mean, I love that kind of stuff, because you know, a lot of the horror stuff that I like has sort of a supernatural tinge to it, which, you know, you saw a little bit about with Art the Clown, you know, I think with the second one. But that for me is a callback to those movies that I grew up watching. And Freddy Krueger, hands down, favorite slasher. And you can't beat the one-liners, man. I mean, goodness, he'll kill you and then say something so like, just why? You know, exactly. It's awesome.
Dave, what about you? You have a favorite killer character or anything?
Not really. I will, because like I'm not a horror guy, but I do. So Freddy definitely made an impression on me when I was younger, because I think I watched the second one at a friend's house when I was far too young.
Okay.
And it didn't do me any favors.
Okay, so you had problems sleeping that night.
Many nights, yeah, maybe even tonight, because he brought it up. Thanks a lot. But I also do remember. I don't remember when I watched the original Texas Chainsaw, but
that's a good Leatherface.
There's a scene at the end where I don't think there's any music, and Leatherface just comes out with the chainsaw, like running. I was like, oh my God, what am I watching? Like, that was legitimately terrifying. And I was an adult when I saw that. So I think some of that's the character. I think some of that's just the way that particular movie was done, because I've seen some of the other Texas Chainsaws, and it's not the same thing. But I want to pose this question to Rob now that we think about it. Would you see something if they just called it like Krueger, that was just his killing spree as he was like a young adult? We're not even getting to the nightmare stuff, just like who he was before because they alluded to it. You know, you see maybe some clips, because I don't think I've seen all the Nightmare movies, but I feel like if they were going to go back and do anything, tell his demented story before he became the dream killer.
Cool.
I would, but I would have certain, like, you know, stipulations that I need to just like some ground rules. If you're gonna go do a Krueger movie like that, you gotta let go of the whole dream demon thing. You know what he becomes. It's been, broken down to a fine powder. You know that part of who that character is. But this thing is more like along the lines of like, I'm not comparing him to Jigsaw, but that kind of like Saw type of like mentality you got to go in with, because Krueger, the way I understood that character, I mean, he's the son of a thousand maniacs. His mom was trapped in a jail or asylum, accidentally trapped there, and she was raped over and over again. That's how Krueger became. This guy came out messed up. So for him to try like maybe I'm just thinking about spitballing here, like him trying to be normal, but he just can't. It's not as in DNA. Maybe that kind of like conflict. Yeah, something like that. You got to, for me, if someone's going to put together a story like that, which hey, I like the idea a lot.
Give
I
it
mean,
a barbarian.
I'll just seriously, I'll write down some notes on it and stuff and see what I would like to see. But
Yeah,
I think
how did he get the
has
glove?
like,
How did he get the glove? Is there a story on how he got the glove?
yeah, he created that glove in his basement. He's just basically,
Okay.
he was trying to find new ways to like, basically just split people up, and he thought that was fun.
Okay, pretty cool. Well, yeah, Freddy
Yeah,
Krueger.
thanks for the idea.
Yeah. All right, we got
3%. That's it.
That's a good one.
That's fair.
That's a real good one. We got one more here. I got here. It says James R. Reading, PA says, I'm excited to see what James Gunn does it with a Clayface movie. Tom Rise Harry's is a solid choice. Yes, I heard about a Clayface movie. I think that's going to be really interesting if James Gunn's going that route. I don't know how they would, kind of do that with all the FX or the, the stuff. What about you, Dave? What do you think about that Clayface movie, James Gunn?
I just need to know where they're going with the story, because I've heard a couple of different versions of how they want to approach Clayface. I'm sure he'll do just fine. I'm just curious as to, again, with the way the internet is now, we're getting snippets and stories and confirmations of movies like so far down the line. Like, did we just watch Superman first?
Yeah.
And then like figure the rest of it out.
Yeah.
Like we're like Clayface is such, I don't say it's a niche character. I think Clayface is a fantastic character that's just been heavily overlooked. And I think probably because it's hard to do. It's hard to do visually, the story you're telling. So I think it's a good move because I don't need to see another Joker. I don't.
Amen.
We get it. Like if he's there, cool, but we don't need another iteration of Joker.
100%.
Mr. Freeze, if you give him that 1950s vibe, which the way Gunn is going, he could pull that off.
That could work.
So I think there's definitely a lot of great directions this could go. I just think it's too early days to really be like,
Yeah, exactly.
I feel you, Rob? Confirmations or speculations.
What about you, Rob, about Clayface? You have any thoughts on that?
I do, because I've written, I read the confirmation on the actor choice, and again, I'm not sure if this is Gunn's words per se, but from my understanding, this is, this is a superhero horror movie, and which makes a lot of sense given, what Clayface is. So that's the kind of stuff that I like. We know this character, what he's about. If you're really going to focus on him, don't give us something just like churned out that we've already seen. I like the choice of Clayface, and if it's a true, think of the concept, a superhero horror movie. I'm trying to think if there's anything like that right now. I don't think I can give you an answer.
Brightburn.
What was that?
Brightburn.
Brightburn. Well, Gunn, right? Yeah. But using kind of like an IP that's already established. But that shows you that Gunn knows he could make something like that. Given with DC properties now, go for it, man. I would be very interested in that. And I don't know, success wise, I don't know, given what DC fans really want or looking for. I don't know, what exactly. I know what they want, but as far as the overall picture, but with a movie like this in their universe, seriously, you guys might have something that Marvel never had, which is awesome.
Yeah,
I think Gunn really knows where he wants to go and the characters he wants to use. But I think just in the idea of like good business, he's still waiting to see how the movies perform and then maybe develop them a little bit further.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think picking Metamorpho in Superman, that was an odd choice, but like he knows how to do that, I guess. He knows how to pick the right characters.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
And it's totally his style of characters, you know, those really weird type of like creepy type of characters. You mentioned Brightbird. What was Slither? I think it's if you ever seen that movie, it doesn't get much creepier than that. So that's kind of like his style. So it doesn't surprise me. He wants to do Clayface. You know, he's the CEO, but remember, he's a writer and director first, and this is right up his alley, I think.
Yep. All right, guys. All right, so we're fine at the final section of our show where we're going to be naming that movie. Yes. All right, so I'm going to be giving you guys the actors from a movie. You guys are, before I reveal all the actors, you're going to try and tell me what the movie is. All right. All right. So this movie was in 1980. Okay, 1980, and the first actor who was in this movie was Bill Murray.
I got
Bill
it.
Murray. You got it. What is it? Stripes.
Come on. I think the earliest one I could think of for Bill Murray.
Stripes. Nope. Next one. Next.
Was it Caddyshack?
What?
Was it Caddyshack?
You got it. Caddyshack. Wow. Very good. Very good, Dave. You knocked that one out of the park.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Because I
didn't realize it was. I didn't realize. I didn't realize it was so early. I thought it was going to be like 82.
Very good. Very good. That was excellent. I didn't think you'd get it on that, but you got it. I figured once I hit Rodney Dangerfield, you were going to obviously get it because he's the main star. So I saved him for last, but you got it. Well, we'll see what happens.
Number 2. Let's go.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, another great show. We'll touch base about getting the tickets and everything. I'll make sure that's taken care of. But I will see you guys next week.
Yes, sir.
You got it, brother. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks for watching the Zapata Brand Podcast. Please subscribe to the podcast and listen where all podcasts are available.